Hey everybody, and welcome back for even more Appalachian music history in the Tri-Cities. Today we are in Kingsport, Tennessee. This is part 3 in our series of Appalachian music history in the Tri-Cities. So if you haven't seen the Bristol or Johnson City videos, go check them out. But anyway, let's dive in. In the 19-teens, the Clinchfield Railroad came through Kingsport, and very quickly the city became a bustling railroad hub, much like its cousin cities Bristol and Johnson City. By the 1920s, Kingsport had developed a thriving music scene, filled with musicians from different genres that would influence each other, including blues players, family bands, string bands, old-time fiddlers, minstrel performers, gospel singers, ballad singers, and street performers. One of the first groups from the Kingsport music scene to make a commercial recording in the 1920s was John Dyke's Magic City Trio. John Dykes played fiddle and was the band leader, and the Magic City Trio got its name from one of Kingsport's nicknames, the Magic City, because it was like magic how quickly Kingsport grew after the railroad came to town just a few years prior. John Dykes and other members of the Magic City Trio were originally from Scott County, Virginia, but were active in Kingsport's thriving music scene, as many musicians from the surrounding communities were drawn to the fast-growing city. In 1927, just a few months before the famous Bristol sessions, John Dykes' Magic City Trio traveled from Gate City, Virginia to New York City to record for Brunswick Records. Doc Boggs, a banjo player from Norton, Virginia, accompanied them on their journey to New York, as he would make some recordings of his own for Brunswick Records during that trip. John Dykes' Magic City Trio made several recordings for Brunswick in 1927, including Tennessee Girls, which has since become an influential fiddle tune. During this same session for Brunswick in 1927, they also made the first recording of a song called Cotton Eye Joe. And you're welcome for getting it stuck in your head.
I'd been married 40 years ago, and been far old Cotton Eye Joe.
During this same session, they also recorded an early version of Frankie and Johnny, a St. Louis blues ballad that was also recorded by artists such as Mississippi John Hurt, Jimmy Rogers, Charlie Patton, and several other blues, country, early jazz, and pop artists around this time. This information about John Dykes' Magic City Trio comes to us from the Scott County, Virginia Historical Society and the Birthplace of Country Music Museum website. Eventually, John Dykes became a friend and mentor to another old-time Appalachian fiddler known as Ralph Blizzard, who was born and raised in Kingsport, Tennessee. Born in 1918, Ralph Blizzard was also family friends with the legendary fiddlin' Charlie Bowman, and in 1932, at age 14, he started his first band, the Southern Ramblers. Throughout the 1930s and into the 1950s, Ralph Blizzard and the Southern Ramblers played on local radio stations throughout the week and played square dances and other bookings on the weekends. Ralph Blizzard continued to perform with the Southern Ramblers until 1955, when he decided to hang up his fiddle to focus more on family life. 25 years later, in 1980, Ralph Blizzard decided to reignite his music career and reformed his old band as the New Southern Ramblers, whom he performed with until his death in 2004. Ralph Blizzard was awarded the Tennessee Arts Commission Folklife Heritage Award in 2003 and is a member of the American Fiddlers Hall of Fame. Just a few years before his death, he co-founded the Traditional Appalachian Musical Heritage Association. Ralph Blizzard is remembered for his distinct, influential style of longbow fiddle playing, and if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the Ralph Blizzard Museum in Blountville, Tennessee. Information about Ralph Blizzard comes from the Tennessee Arts Commission Folklife website. In Emily Dingler's graduate thesis, The Most Important Thing is the Music, Ralph Blizzard's Legacy Preserving Traditional Appalachian Old-Time Music, through East Tennessee State University. Well, folks, let's keep it moving. You can't have a conversation about music history in Kingsport without talking about Leslie Riddle. Leslie Riddle was a well-known musician in the Kingsport area in the 1920s. He was born in Burnsville, North Carolina, and played traditional old-time music as well as blues music, which was quickly growing in popularity among Southern musicians in the 1920s thanks to the ever-expanding railroad and the burgeoning record industry. Leslie Riddle influenced many musicians in the Kingsport area, including blues acts such as Tarter and Gay, who recorded in the 1928 Bristol sessions, and the McGee brothers, Brownie and Stick McGee, both of whom would become well-known bluesmen in the coming decades. Leslie Riddle was also good friends with John Henry Lyons, another blues player from Kingsport who would host pickin' parties at his Kingsport home on the weekends. These pickin' parties were very popular with Kingsport musicians, and it's said that Blind Lemon Jefferson would drop in from time to time when he was traveling through. In 1928, Leslie befriended A.P. Carter, a musician from Scott County, Virginia, who had found great commercial success a year prior with Victor Records in Bristol, Tennessee, with his band, the Carter Family. After the Carter family's record sales were very successful, A.P. Carter hoped to find other songs to record with Victor Records, and he sought Leslie's help with song catching. Having Leslie around made it easier for A.P. to access music in black communities throughout Appalachia, and together, Leslie Riddle and A.P. Carter collected songs to beef up the Carter family's song repertoire for several years. Over the years, Leslie Riddle developed a close friendship with all of the Carter family, and through his song collecting with A.P. Carter, he helped the Carter family band maintain their successful recording career throughout the 1930s. Leslie Riddle also helped preserve many tunes from our area that otherwise may have been lost to time. This information about Leslie Riddle comes to us from Lonnie Salyer in an interview with the Black in Appalachia podcast found on YouTube, the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources website, and the Blue Ridge National Heritage Area website. Another blues act that was active in the Kingsport music scene in the 1920s was Tarter and Gay, composed of Stephen Tarter and Harry Gay. Not much is known about this duo, except that they were from Scott County, Virginia, they were active in the Kingsport music scene, and they recorded for Victor at the 1928 Bristol Sessions, a year after the Carter family made their groundbreaking debut. Here's a snippet of their recording, Brownie Blues.
Nice run here, Brownie, sit down on my knee. Nice run here, Brownie, sit down on my knee. Just pray to the world, babe, how you mistreating me.
The Kingsport blues scene was also home to the McGee brothers, Walter Brownie McGee and Granville Stick McGee. Brownie and Stick McGee were both born in Knoxville, Tennessee in the 19-teens, but raised in Kingsport, and they were both involved in their church as musicians growing up. Brownie McGee contracted polio at the age of 4, and his brother would push him around in a wagon with a stick, which is how Stick got his nickname. When the brothers were in their early 20s, Brownie became an itinerant musician, where he performed with the Rabbit Foot Minstrels and later teamed up with harmonica player Sonny Terry, and as a duo, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee made a lot of influential recordings together in the 1940s. Stick McGee's recording and performing career wasn't nearly as extensive as his brother Brownie's, but he did record the first hit for Atlantic Records in 1949, called Drinkin' Wine Spody Odie, a song about drinking homemade wine at house parties. And it goes a little something like this.
When he gets drunk, start fighting all night, knocking down the windows and tearing out doors, drinking half a gallon and calling for more, drinking wine, Spody Odie, drink wine, pop, pop.
Not only did Drinkin' Wine Spody Odie help kick off Atlantic Records, it's also considered one of the first hits of early rock and roll music. Information about the McGee brothers comes from thebluesfoundation.org. Next up is Walter Haynes, a Nashville steel guitar player who grew up in Kingsport, Tennessee, playing fiddle and steel guitar and dreaming of one day playing on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry. He was born in 1928, and at the age of 18 he made the move to Nashville and was a staff musician at the Opry for 13 years until he was hired by country musician Little Jimmy Dickens to play steel guitar in his band. He would eventually play steel guitar for many, many high-profile Nashville acts throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, including, but not limited to, Hank Williams Sr. and Hank Williams Jr., Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Patsy Cline. In fact, his nickname around Nashville was Patsy Cline's steel guitar player, and he even played steel guitar on Patsy Cline's famous 1961 hit, Crazy.
Crazy.
Walter Haynes was even the producer for bluegrass legend Bill Monroe, while he was on MCA Records for 13 years. He was also an accomplished songwriter in Nashville, and in 2000 Walter Haynes was inducted into the Hall of Fame of the North American Country Music Association. This information about Walter Haynes comes to us from his obituary. We've talked about old-time fiddle music in Kingsport, blues music and country music in Kingsport. Now it's time to talk about bluegrass. Perhaps the best-known bluegrasser from Kingsport is Doyle Lawson. Doyle Lawson was born in 1944 in the Fordtown community just south of Kingsport. Growing up, Doyle Lawson was inspired to learn mandolin, like his musical hero Bill Monroe. In 1963, he was hired to play mandolin for Jimmy Martin, who was formerly part of Bill Monroe's band. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, Doyle Lawson was a major player in the bluegrass movement, with his own band, Quicksilver. And in 1984, he and his wife moved to Bristol, Tennessee. Doyle Lawson has been nominated for many Grammys, and in 2012, he was inducted into the International Bluegrass Music Association Hall of Fame. Other bluegrassers from Kingsport include Barry Bales, bass player for Alison Krauss and Union Station; Tim Stafford, former guitar player for Union Station and founding member of Blue Highway, formed in 1994 and also based out of Kingsport; the late James Allen Shelton, who played guitar with Ralph Stanley and the Clinch Mountain Boys in the 90s and 2000s; and fiddlin' Carson Peters from nearby Piney Flats, Tennessee. Well folks, that's all the music history I have for you coming out of Kingsport, Tennessee. If you've made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it, and stay tuned for more Appalachian music history, and just history in general, or whatever else I feel like posting.